Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Doom Productions podcast, a podcast hosted by Doom Productions. I'm Jordan.
And I'm Ethan.
And today we're here to talk about one of those questions that I think every young filmmaker asks themselves at some point in their career, in their lifetime, early in their career especially, which is how do you find your voice as a filmmaker?
Yeah.
What is your voice? What does it mean? How do I stand out among my peers? And what makes filmmakers different from other filmmakers? Mm-hmm. So I guess, Ethan, I'll throw this one out to you because I know you've thought about this one all day.
Yep, all day.
Marinating in this question.
I live and breathe this question.
We did not just figure out this episode 5 minutes ago.
Never.
We've been thinking about this one all day. When did you find your voice as a filmmaker?
I'm still finding my voice as a filmmaker. I mean, here, let's rewind the clock.
Okay.
And this goes for all art forms, first and foremost. Mm-hmm. When you're starting out in anything, whether that's filmmaking or painting, photography, music, all of it, you start out not knowing much because you're new to it. And so what do you do? How do you learn more? You look to other people who have been doing this before you. You look to, in filmmaking's case, you look to other filmmaking directors. Like, you might watch some Steven Spielberg or some Michael Bay or some, I don't know, Matt Reeves, anyone, whoever you're watching, Maya Deren. You're going to watch these people's movies. You're going to watch these people's movies, and you're going to get inspired and think, wow, I want to do what that person's doing. And then kind of naturally you'll start watching more stuff. But you get to this point when, again, you're trying things out for the first time, and more likely than not, you're not coming up with your own ideas yet on what your movie's going to be like. More likely than not, you're copying what you're seeing to an extent. You're trying to make your movie as close as you can to a Spielberg movie, because that's your point of reference, that's what you're inspired by, so that's what you're trying to emulate. And that's great. That's a super healthy, normal place to start out in. That's not bad. It's not bad to copy what you see other filmmakers do. I don't see any issue with that. But over time...
And even people with voices, too, they've talked about, like, you got to steal from people you love, or films you love, or filmmakers you love.
We do it. It's just a natural part of the process. You're going to see something that inspires you, and you'll want to either do it or riff on it or expand on it. It's just natural. But from there, as you make more films, as you're copying more things, as you're building on your experience, over time, naturally, you're going to start to find things that you like doing. You might either based on something you've already done or seen someone else do, and you'll start taking it into a different direction that is your own. Or you'll find something unexpectedly that's going to become part of your voice. Whether, like for us, I'll use us as a good example. When we started making movies more regularly, there was a point where you were at a film camp and you learned that circle aspect ratio was a totally valid thing. Yeah. You could use circles in your movies instead of a square or a rectangle as your framing. And from there, you started using it in some of your short films. And over time, we've kept playing with aspect ratio in different ways, whether that be just our movie as a whole is in a different aspect ratio than 16:9, or it changes throughout the movie. And a bunch of our movies have that to a different degree. But over time, we've kind of tried to make ourselves the aspect ratio guys. Another example is lighting. We use colored gels a lot, and sometimes we'll apply specific colors to different characters. Obviously, we're not the first people to do this, but it's become a staple of a lot of our work to where, again, if you watch a lot of our movies, you'll notice that's a common characteristic, and you can kind of pick out our movies from a crowd by usually the aspect ratio and the colored lighting. That's just a part of our voice now.
And that's a funny one, too, because when I think of myself and my voice as a filmmaker, I mean, for a long time, I didn't think of, like, the colored gels as being a part of it. Like, in my head, I almost pictured, like, for whatever reason, in my head, I just associated my own style with black and white a lot.
Oh, yeah.
for
we did that for a good chunk. Yeah.
Because I do love black and white cinematography. I really like that. I'm not, or I guess I thought that like, yeah, black and white's kind of my thing. I'm just using gels and stuff for now just because it fits the project, fits what I'm going for here. But I had this preconceived notion of what like my style was or anything. And then I can't remember at what point it was, but then at a certain point I was like, wait a minute. That movie uses color gels. That movie does too. That movie, all of these movies, I think the majority of the movies I've directed since The Gospel, maybe even Black Coffee to an extent.
Black Coffee had a little bit, but it wasn't extreme. It was more black and white than anything.
Yeah, more, and exactly my point. More black and white there. They've all used heavily like gelled lighting, very stylized, neon kind of look. And at a certain point I was like, oh, I guess that's just what I like. If that's my go-to, if that's my default, I guess that is my voice. And I don't have a problem with it. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, how terrible of me, how dare I.
I've betrayed black and white cinematography.
That was just like, I really love making stuff really heightened and kind of stylized with gel lightings and all that kind of stuff.
And when you use color, a lot of it is still monochromatic because we use just blue in a lot of scenes or just red, and to the point where it's just reds to black, which is still monochrome. So not quite black and white, but it's close enough. But I still think it fits within what we do. Again, our stuff is very heightened reality, dramatic, a lot of contrast. We love shadows.
I think what your voice is can change too.
100%.
Because look at I'm trying to think of a director like, I don't know. I can't think of an example.
I know. I can never think of good directors
when it comes to thinking about movies. Who's a popular director? Jeez. Who's been working for a long time? Gosh. Okay. I guess Scorsese. He's like the big dog.
Yeah.
All of his movies do feel the same, but I mean, something like Silence feels very different from Goodfellas or Wolf of Wall Street. And, I don't know, like, King of Comedy. That was him, right? King of Comedy?
I don't remember.
The one where it's Robert De Niro who's obsessed with the talk show host.
Maybe.
Whatever that one is. Those movies are all very different from each other, and he made them at different points in his life. So obviously, what he was interested in and how he liked doing it is very different from each other. But I guess he does have, like, kind of this tendency to lean in towards very kinetic camera movements and the kind of gangster East Coast setting and characters, and using pop music or pre-recorded, needle drops and all that.
Yeah,
that's his kind of what he leans into.
Yeah, what's funny is voice isn't usually that complicated. Like when it comes to like distilling a director's voice down, it's not like this vast like soul-searching thing. It's like, which is kind of great. I feel like as a creative, if I want to try on new voices in terms of like what I want to be making, I don't need to like change who I am.
No.
I can just I can make a movie where I want to have needle drop moments, but I can still keep other things, or I can try swapping things in and out. It's not like you're using tiny Lego pieces. It's like you're building with Duplo. It almost feels like the big bricks, where you're not having to disassemble your entire being to change your voice. It's like, I'll just swap this part out for this, and in my next movie I'll swap this part out instead.
Exactly. Yeah. I think sometimes it can be complicated. I feel it's complicated to describe what it is, but actually finding it I think it's a lot more straightforward than you would think. I mean, I think the best way to find your voice is maybe, I don't know, take a script, or maybe, so if you took a script, or an improv prompt, rather, like we did with Holly Hargraves.
Yeah, her competition.
What Holly did was she sent a bunch of filmmakers the exact same prompt for like a scene, a scenario, situation, and she said, go make this, do whatever you want. It's an experiment. She's done 2 of these, I believe, so far.
Yeah.
And everybody filmed their video, sent them to her, and she compiled them into one video. And if you look at each one, they are all vastly different from each other. And those differences are their voices, essentially, in their movies. Or maybe a less elaborate example would be, go out right now and shoot a shot shoot just shoot one shot of a friend or a human being that's close to you in your proximity. Go out and film a human being.
If no one else is around,
shot,
yourself.
And look at that shot and just kind of don't think about it before you do it. Just go out and shoot it. Shoot one that looks good to you. Film something that looks good to you. Just a close up or a medium wide, doesn't matter. Film it, and then if you were to compare your shot to my shot or Ethan's shot or Haldy's shot or any other filmmakers, those differences, again, that's what your voice is. Mm-hmm. Like, one of us could do a super tight, shallow depth of field close up of an eye. Someone else did like a close up where it's totally from the profile, where they're on the far right side of the screen. Someone else could have done direct close up on the front of the face, dead center. Someone could have framed that human off center. Someone could have not even gotten someone's face. It's just their feet or just their hands. It's kind of your tendency. Like, when you're not thinking about filmmaking, what are you going to do? Mm-hmm. Like, what's your go-to, I guess? It's
almost like, what's your cheat code? What's your filmmaking cheat code? When you're like, oh, shoot, I got to come up with an idea for how I'm going to shoot this movie. Mm-hmm. Well, I know I can do gelled lighting really good. I don't have to think about it. Like, I know my mind goes to Video Carnage, our feature film we shot last year, where that has a lot of neon lighting in it. But the ways that I would just light a scene without thinking were most of the times how I did it. Because, again, we were moving pretty quick for a lot of it, particularly like I think of like the climax of the movie or just certain parts of it that were very, not rushed, but we had to just kind of keep a good pace. I didn't have time to like spend 5 hours crafting the light. So I would just go on, okay, what do I know looks good? What do I prefer shooting? And that, as I did scene after scene after scene, that just became the look of the movie. And there's a million ways you could have shot Video Carnage, but again, the way we did it I feel like was it worked out well for the piece and it fit all together. But again, that was just our voice. And again, it came out of just, I knew I could shoot, like, light and shoot the scenes in that particular way. And obviously with your direction as well as the main director, like, you would have obviously said if something wasn't right, and we talked about it. But
I don't know if we've talked about this, but we shot for maybe like an hour or two. Mm-hmm. Remember the very first day of shooting?
I do remember.
It was even before like the principal. This was like maybe a week or two before the actual principal photography began.
Yeah.
We shot for like an hour, and I was like, "This isn't right. We need to call it."
Yeah.
And the main problem was I have these giant skylights in my room. Mm-hmm. It was filling the room with light, uncontrollable light, and the scene was just totally day. It didn't look moody. It didn't look neon. It didn't look. It looked
like a Sunday morning.
Yeah, it looked very uncharacteristic to Video Carnage.
Yeah.
So we stopped. I put the tinfoil up.
And the rest was history.
And then we made Video Carnage.
Yeah. We blacked out every window in this room, because even like your sliding door over here that has the glass, we covered that up with tinfoil. Yeah.
And here's what's funny. This is a side note, total derailment of this conversation.
Yeah.
I learned the hard way last year. If you have your tinfoil up for a long time, you get a little bit of mold. Yeah. Not a lot. Like, it's there.
A manageable amount.
It wasn't even. It didn't damage anything. It was just a thin layer on top of the kind of, I don't know what you call the inset of the window.
Yeah. Sir, I don't know why you're so upset. It's just a thin layer of mold on your food. It's fine.
It took off. Like, I sprayed it down with all the stuff, wiped off. It was fine. Yeah. There was no big damage, but because of that, I don't put tinfoil up in the winter because it's just
damp.
Too cold here. A few weeks ago, it was like 80-degree weather, 70s, pretty consistent for most of the week, and I was like, okay, it's springtime, right? I'm putting the tinfoil up because I can control the lighting, and otherwise
the sun would bake all the mold anyway. Yeah, it's good.
Exactly. But now, that was a fluke week because it snowed last week, and now it's rainy. And now I'm too lazy to bring down the aluminum foil because I just love it too much.
Yeah, the dark is our home.
What's it? The hobbits or the dwarfs in the Hobbit. He's like, we like the dark or whatever in the beginning.
You merely adopted the dark, but I was born in it.
I know. Anyways. Voices. our voice as filmmakers.
Yes, this is my voice.
Here's as you were talking about Video Carnage and some of that style,
Yeah.
like being a result of being not rushed, but like having to get through things pretty quickly.
The necessity of the project, yeah.
Yeah. That makes me wonder if we did have like a bigger budget and if we did, if we had a whole day set aside, not for 20 scenes, but for 3 scenes, like a big Hollywood movie, would our style be the same or would it be different? What would we change?
Well, okay. What's interesting is I've heard this in a lot of interviews from different DPs and cinematographers and grips and such. And I love it because it makes me feel a lot better about how we run things.
Yeah.
Because when they talk about specifically, and this is specific towards lighting.
Yeah.
They talk about how like lighting is still one of the places where you can bring like the crappiest equipment and they'll use like the 20-cent Chinese lantern kind of thing, like paper lanterns, all the time on sets. Like they'll just find stuff that looks interesting and for like their lighting and they'll still totally use it. Cause I feel like, everything is so industrialized in Hollywood and, there's a correct thing to use for everything. But with lighting, there's still so much like freedom and play. They'll use whatever. They'll be like, oh yeah, I found this plastic wrap that if I wrap around my light 5 times, it gets the right look. So that's what we use for the whole movie. And it'll be like a big Hollywood movie. And it's like, oh, that's so cool. But so all that to saying, I think lighting wise, maybe we'd use nicer lights that didn't, that weren't quite so crappy. But like at the same time, I think our big value whenever we talk about, if we had more time, that usually would be more time to talk with our actors and make sure we worked through scenes with them more. I don't know. And maybe that would change something for us in a style over time. But again, like your voice comes out of a repeated habit and pattern. I feel like that you go towards. So with a new opportunity like that, I think new patterns and habits would change and we'd pick those up. And maybe it would change our voice. I don't know. But I think starting out, I don't know, maybe not.
I remember 2 instances when we did the climax of Video Carnage and when we were in Chicago last year doing the short film challenge.
Yeah.
So if you weren't aware, last year, we went out to Chicago with the RC Films boys and met up with the 922 Films crew.
Some folk filmmakers. This was the first big meetup.
On the last day we were there, we did like a little short film challenge. The idea was like, go out and shoot a short film set in the chlorine universe. Come back in
an hour. It was an hour.
Yeah, 1 hour. And that'll be it. So I directed one of the shorts. You were the cinematographer, the other one. But from my perspective, I was like, okay, I don't want to do a lot of post work. I don't want to do a lot of work in general. I want to be able to just show the take and that's the movie. Yeah. So it's a one take thing pretty much. There's 2 shots in the movie. There's 1 cut in the movie, but it's 2 shots really, with the last shot just being kind of a little epilogue tag at the end. So that's why that was in 1 take, because there was a time crunch. I wanted to get all the information just in 1 shot. And then I think back to Video Carnage where that was intended to be... Spoilers if you haven't seen Video Carnage. Yeah. If you'd like to see it, go watch it now so you're not spoiled. There's a sequence, though, where May, the lead character in the time, or Sam, the lead character at the time, is going through a house. And originally, because of scheduling, because of time crunch and all that stuff, the sequence was originally supposed to be lots of shots throughout the house of, say, May enters the room, cuts to another shot, May goes through the room, cuts to another shot, May looks through the room, and then leaves the room.
I guess standard coverage is how you describe it.
Kind of thing. Because of the time crunch kind of thing, and kind of like you talked about, I was like, okay, how do we up the ante a little bit more? What would feel right for the movie, and 2, what can we realistically get done? And that was 1 shot, pretty much.
Yeah, broken up into some chunks, but it was very little cutting.
But so I guess this isn't the original idea. The next idea for that climax was to have it all shot within 1 take. May starts at the beginning of the house, goes through the very top, and that's a 1 take thing.
Yeah.
That was the original idea. Not the original, but like the second idea. Then we went with the third idea, which is, okay, we can't do the entire house, so we're going to do each level. Yeah. So level 1, that's 1 take. Level 2, that's another take. Level 3, that's another take. And then that was the idea behind that. And so I don't consider oneers to be a part of my style necessarily or my voice, but that's certainly what I go to when I'm on a time crunch. Is like, let's just get it all in one shot.
Yeah.
But I wonder, I bet every filmmaker feels like that, though.
Yeah.
That's probably not a rare thing.
But not all of them have the guts to do it.
Yeah, Birdman, they were on a time crunch, so they were like, yeah, let's just get it all.
We only got Michael Keaton for 3 days. We got to go.
We got to go with this one. I feel like for more narrative stuff, I do, and then we did Ready, Set, Smile years ago.
Yeah, that was another one-take short film.
I feel like for dramatic scenes or narrative films, I have a slight tendency to do oneers because I like to make every cut mean something. Mm-hmm. But then there's
As you were giving me advice on the bell rings, you're like, the less cuts you can do in this movie, the better. Every scene would be what if we could do this in one take? I think we could do this in one take.
We should do it in one take.
You were right. I mean, you were right, but...
but that's also like, I don't know. That's also practical, kind of logistical kind of thing. That's also like what I like from a narrative film versus like a more... Because I don't consider myself a huge narrative filmmaker necessarily. Like, I like narrative and I can do it, but that's not what I'm personally interested in as much.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, your voice it's a tricky thing well, it's not tricky to find. It's just whatever your instinct is, but talking about it is...
It's tricky. Very out there when you're talking about it, it feels like, even though it doesn't have to be. But it always gets out there at some point.
Once you start trying to define it, it gets really messy. And it's like, well, am I a one-take kind of director where I like doing everything's in one take? Or are those just flukes? Or
no director wants to put themselves in a box.
Exactly,
so.
Yeah. It's like, labels are good. Labels are sometimes good, sometimes bad. But in this case, it's just confusing to think about.
Yeah.
In terms of filmmaking and who you are, because your voice is your identity.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's how you craft a movie and whatnot, and also the types of movies you make too, or the types of stories you tell. Mm-hmm. That's also another thing, because I'm sure, like, a famous example is George Lucas, right? Mm-hmm. George Lucas started out in kind of direct cinema verite, experimental movies when he was in film school, and THX is a pretty out there movie. I mean, it's pretty, like, it's not crazy, like, wild or anything, but it's definitely not as, like, accessible as something like Star Wars.
No. Or
American Graffiti. But he's been known to be this, like, champion of, like, the Joseph Campbell hero's myth and the traditional Hollywood blockbuster. Like, he's known for that, but I know that deep down he's a pretty, like, when you hear him talk about cinema and filmmaking, he's got like a experimental filmmaker's brain.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what he would say his voice is, whereas I think other people would say, well, your voice is traditional myth and narrative and symbolism and mythology.
Yeah.
Whereas he might agree with some of that. He might personally feel that, I think it's actually editing. That's what I'm best at, and pushing boundaries and all that kind of thing.
We have to wait for his secret films to come out before we can really pin down his voice.
I know.
If that ever happens.
But
maybe
yeah,
one day.
I think that's a better, maybe a more complicated example, but famous example, because most people know who Mr. Lucas is.
No, that's a perfect example, I think. And I think I wonder if filmmakers would agree that you have two voices. There's the voice you think you have and the voice people say you have.
And the voice you want.
And the voice you want. Yeah.
I
Maybe
always
you have three.
For big directors, if I ever met like a huge director, the questions I would ask them is, what do you think your best movie you've made is? What's your favorite movie? And what's your favorite movie that you've made? Because they're different answers.
Oh, yeah.
They're not the same.
No.
Because you can think, like, your best is like, what do you think it was like?
An achievement.
An achievement. I made this. It accomplished this. Mm-hmm. A lot of people like it, and it had this impact. Blah blah blah. But my favorite movie is, X, Y, and Z or whatever.
Totally.
Yeah. No, George Lucas. He's someone I'd love to talk to. Speaking of directors.
But I don't know if you have more you want to talk on that, but again, it is just that though. Like finding your voice is a thing that just takes time. Like you're not going to find it overnight. I mean, some people but I do think there are people out there who it comes easier than others. Like I think there's some people who like know what they want and it's fewer steps for them to get there. Mm-hmm. And other people, it takes them time just to kind of figure out what they want. Other people, they just change and shift and not one thing pins them down. And there's no wrong or right answers to any of this. It's not like you need to find your voice and know what it is, be able to articulate it in 5 sentences. Like no one's going to hold you at gunpoint and ask you that.
I would just say if you want to find your voice, just make a lot of movies first and foremost. That's all you need to do is just make a bunch of stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Don't worry about what your voice is. Just make stuff
It'll
how
happen.
you want to make it, and you'll find it.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah. Quantity is your friend at the beginning of making stuff.
And if you're, I guess, further into your filmmaking journey and you don't know what your voice is, I don't know, just, again, make something that excites you, that you'd want to see. And that's probably a pretty good indication of what that would look like. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
And also when you're cutting corners, that might be where your voice is too.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is for us.
Yeah. And it's exciting whether you're starting out on your filmmaking journey or you are at a pivot point. Because I think we were in a pivot point in 2020, obviously. That was a huge pivot for us into
from short films to features, yeah.
And I feel like every year since has been a pivot point because it was like, okay, 2020 was like, we can do this, we can do features, and then 2021 was like, okay, Video Carnage, Bell Rings, all these other things.
How do we go big?
Yeah. And now this year, there's even some more exciting stuff happening. So,
yeah.
And next year is going to be huge.
Yeah.
It's our 10-year anniversary next year.
We're taking the year off.
Yeah. So we'll I guess stay tuned if you want to know what big plans we have for next year, but we'll keep you updated.
Yeah.
Anyways, now comes the section in our show where we talk about what are you watching?
Yeah.
What are you watching?
So,
should we?
Do we
are
want
there any little things to address before the big thing?
Let me pull up my phone right here and to see what I watched. I know last night I rewatched Bo Burnham's Inside, which was really fun.
Still never seen that
or
any of his specials.
Honestly, it's a great place to start. I think you'd dig it. He's got a lot of aspect ratio play.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a good one. But then other than that, I watched this little horror film that came out in 2020 called The Night House.
Not the Lighthouse? The Night House?
No, it's The Night House.
Okay.
And it was pretty interesting. It wasn't like this kind of big blow your socks off kind of horror movie. It was pretty quiet and condensed. It was interesting though. It was interesting to check out. If you're a horror fan, I think you'll dig it. So, but I don't have a ton else to talk about besides the movie. So, what have you seen?
Lots of animated stuff. It's been a weird, it's been a while since we did one of these because I think last time I talked about SpongeBob, which is the third. And then, so from the 8th to now, it's been how long has that been? About 2 weeks, almost. Well, no, not 2 weeks. Almost 2 weeks. But I've been watching a lot of animated stuff because it's just been at work I use a lot of showing Disney clips and songs and stuff to help teach I have a lot of English language activities I do, so I use a lot of that. So
nice.
Lots of Disney stuff. So Encanto, Atlantis, Treasure Planet.
Those are all quality. I need to rewatch Treasure Planet. That one's been a long time since I've seen.
Yeah, it's fun stuff, and so I've been watching it because it's just, I don't know, there's something comforting about animation movies.
Oh yeah.
I saw the new Harry Potter or the Fantastic Beasts ones.
How was that?
I liked it.
Cool.
It was good. Yeah.
I have not, but I think I need to re-go through at least the last one. Mm-hmm. I remember the first one a lot more than the second one, so.
Yeah, it's a fun. I I grew up on Harry Potter. That's like those
comfort.
books, those movies, and I wish there was more Harry Potter like movies or shows or something out there.
Kind of like how Star Wars is right now.
Yeah, because the mythology and lore of itself is absolutely fascinating, and there's so much potential there. But
They keep it pretty limited.
It's really only those movies. And to be honest, J.K.'s not really the most popular person in the world. She said some things that
but the franchise is still kicking. So yeah,
franchise is good. So
I'm curious about the video game actually. Not the actual, because they have a Harry Potter game that just came out.
Yeah.
The game I actually don't care at all about, but the world it's set in, where it's like the late 1800s at Hogwarts, like that's like I want to see that. It looks super cool. That sounds like a neat time period for that to take place in.
This probably won't happen. When I was thinking about this when I was watching the new Fantastic Beasts movie, I was like, you know what? I know how to do versions of all these effects that are in the movie. Like, technology is so beautiful because it's like we can see a Harry Potter movie and be like, oh, I know how to do that, or a version of that. Does it look Hollywood quality? No, but I know how to do a version of that.
Yeah.
So like, doing a wizard or witch movie, like that'd be so much fun. Mm-hmm. Like, picture any kind of weird Harry Potter fanfic you'd want to see, and like, you could do it. Like, something like, I don't know, like America in the Wild West, and there's like a wizard walking around, and it's like a gunslinger, man with no name.
Oh,
but it just happens to be a wizard.
That'd be sick.
In the Harry Potter universe or whatever.
Yeah, one of them's one of them's a Death Eater or something.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
hey,
Death Eaters followed Voldemort.
Yeah, okay, well, something like that.
Okay.
An evil
a little wizard.
off.
Yeah.
I didn't read the book, so I was a movie only kind of kid.
Yeah.
Books are lame. Just kidding.
My heart.
Just kidding.
But no, it's think of like, I don't know. There's something there.
Yeah.
Like doing like a magic witch. I was planning on doing a witch movie this
year. I know, I was gonna say you were.
But then it was like, that got derailed because I was like, oh, there's this other movie. Like, I need to make. But that witch movie will probably happen.
It'll happen someday.
Yeah. That one will happen. But not like.
It's not the Harry Potter kind of witch. It's like Halloween witch.
Yeah. But like, I don't know, that world is ripe for an awesome feature-length fan film to like, I don't know, make something.
Oh, yeah.
It's totally possible.
I'm surprised there hasn't been, because there's been tons of fan films for like Star Wars. I don't know, maybe I'm not in the world yet, but of like I feel like there's not the same level of like stuff that you see from Star Wars fans you see from Harry Potter, or from Harry Potter fans you see from Star Wars fans.
But there's a lot of Harry Potter fan fiction though.
Yes, there's tons of literature.
So
I think that's interesting.
What I'm hearing now is we should make a Harry Potter fan film.
That's what it sounds like.
In the universe. Or
maybe.
Yeah.
I'm down. Maybe I'll read the books finally.
Maybe The Bell Rings is a Harry Potter fan film. I'll just put that idea out there.
Maybe.
When you
sky's the limit at this point.
When you see the movie, just have that in the back of your head. This could be set in the Harry Potter universe.
I guess. Actually. Oh shoot, you're winning me over.
Yeah. Anyways, I saw the new Fantastic Beasts. I liked it. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Nice.
But the big movie we saw.
Mm-hmm.
This was
Hello Kitty 3.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Have they made Hello Kitty movies?
I have no idea.
I'm sure they have.
It was just the first thing that came to my brain.
Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Yep. It was honestly terrible. Just kidding. Again,
you know us. You know we never.
We don't do that. We don't do that. And if you've seen Everything Everywhere All at Once, you know that movie is right up our alley. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about it. Let's give some, because we've only chatted a little bit about it.
Yeah,
on the Zoom call.
Last week.
Yeah.
Where to even begin?
Where to begin?
I feel like before I have to say, it's overwhelming. This movie. Mm-hmm. To like even put into words, like how much I think we both enjoyed it.
Yes.
And how much we relate to it.
How many times have you seen it?
I've only seen it once.
Okay, cool. I'm glad I'm like, okay, same.
I almost saw it twice. I've been meaning to go again.
Same.
But I just haven't had the time. But that's one I will absolutely be buying once it releases.
100%.
But yeah, so I think the first thing I texted you after I saw it, because I saw it Friday or Thursday night.
You saw it just a couple days before me.
Yeah. And I was like, this is the most Doom Productions movie ever. Not to sound egotistical, but like in a way of like not
it's
like
so us. Like
personality
it appeals to us
Yes.
in a way that nothing else could.
Not like we're just as good as them, or they stole our movie, or
No.
like this is
No.
we're the only good people who make movies, and this is the closest thing to. No.
It talks to our soul.
Yes.
Yeah.
That style of filmmaking.
Yeah.
Um,
And it absolutely, absolutely correct.
and it's like where to begin. I think, gosh, if someone's like, should I see this movie? Like,
I
tell
had
me
this
about
conversation
it.
yesterday.
Oh, what did you
I had
say?
this conversation
okay,
yesterday.
let's role play here. I'm like, okay, Ethan, did you see any new movies?
Yeah, I saw this awesome movie called Everything Everywhere All at Once,
Okay.
and it's super amazing. And
What's good about it? Why should I see it?
What did I say? Because this is, again, the hard part is when you're telling non-movie people about a movie,
Yeah.
when it speaks to you so much as a movie person. Like,
Yeah.
that's where I was having a hard time just articulating, but I was like, there's so much variety to this movie in terms of it's got crazy action. It's got a very great, like, intimate story that totally stands, again, outside of the action of the movie. Like, could be a very compelling movie, but you throw in all this craziness on top of it. I told them, dude, this movie's not going to be in theaters very long, probably, and it's already super limited. So I was like, just take the risk and enjoy it, because you're not going to have many opportunities to go see it anyways on the big screen, and that's where this movie belongs.
I agree.
And again, all the stuff that I cared about, I was like trying not to say, because I was probably not going to win over any votes on saying the aspect ratio changes are incredible.
Yeah.
Even though that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah. Aspect ratio. I think, to put it simply, it was a movie that only, like, the experience of this thing could only be experienced as a movie.
It's cinema.
Like,
it's pure cinema.
If it was a book, it wouldn't be the same. If it was a comic, it wouldn't be the same.
Yeah.
It was the fact that it was a movie that told the story in a way that only could be done in cinema.
Yes.
The fact that it had a compelling narrative on top of that was a cherry on top for me. Because I've talked about this before, I'm not personally like, the story is king, it must have a perfect structure, it must...
Three acts and, yeah.
All that stuff. Like, I'm very forgiving when it comes to, like, the actual narrative or story, because to me, cinema is not story. But if it can include a compelling narrative, that's awesome. That's a cherry on top. But the fact that it seemed like the formal qualities of cinema, like, it valued that just as much as it did the story, interweaving, like, this kind of narrative and these moments in time, and again, in a way that only cinema could do. Never sacrificing, I don't think, the editing or the craziness that was going on. It never sacrificed the narrative for that, only to enhance it. I could see someone saying that it just was too much. It was too wild. It was unfocused. It should have focused on this more. It was just too crazy. Like, not enough substance. And to that, I'd say, like, this is a movie. That's what the substance of a movie is that stuff. That makes it uniquely cinema.
Yeah.
Because they're doing things, again, they're playing with time and space in a way that you can only do in movies through the wild editing way that this movie does. And it pushes the boundaries. I mean, this narrative stretches. In 1 minute, you're in, like, a Wong Kar-wai movie. A second later, you're in a kung fu action movie. Then the next minute, you're in a lesbian romance with hot dog fingers movie. And then you're in this office with this kung fu there's so many different places this movie takes you within a span of seconds. And the techniques it uses are just aesthetically so pleasing to look at and watch.
And you can track.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like you're being bombarded to the point where you can't understand the movie. Like, you track.
And it's like, it's that healthy amount of, like, I understand this, but I don't understand this, but that's okay.
Yes.
Like, we don't need to know, like, they never explored slight spoilers, they never explained the exact causality between the universes.
Yeah.
So in the movie, they travel. It takes place between multiverses, but the things that took place in, say, the Prime universe seemingly affected things in another universe. They never explained that, but they didn't need to, because by showing us these, I guess, a progression of emotions. I mean, I'd say those moments in time, those scenes and action moments, those were linked not through necessarily narrative or logic or anything, but through emotions. And it showed us kind of, it didn't matter that we didn't know exactly how this affected that, but what mattered was that this person was feeling this, and here's how it was progressing throughout time and space, regardless of how it's connected. So we're left with this kind of montage of feelings, in a way, of mood and tone, rather than logically this happens and this happens and this is why that happens. But it's an experience that it's so unique, could only be done in a movie. It's incredible, and I don't know where to.
Yeah, like, and it's hard. Also, we're doing I guess a slightly non-spoiler review, but I mean, I don't have much more. Again, especially it sucks I've only seen it once, because I feel like it's a movie that only benefits from watching it more times. Yeah, because I was so like in it that like coming out of the movie, it's like, where do you even begin? Yeah. Again, like, and so I don't like know this movie by heart yet, even though I feel like I can't live without it now, and it has to be a part of me all the time. But it should have always existed. But yes, thank God it's here.
I think technique-wise, I mean, just lean into that. I mean, again, what are the things that like we know it connected to us? Like aspect ratio for one. What else did they do in the movie that like filmmakers would love?
Well, I mean, I think when as a filmmaker, what kind of tickles my brain a lot is seeing things that are done that are very simple, but are done executed so well. So again, like a lot of the editing and cutting is like, we could easily achieve a version of that. Yeah. Of any number of the things that they pulled off in the wild flash cutty editing that they would do.
It reminded me of, this isn't the same kind of movie, but like Looper. You know how Looper, when people would time travel, it's like 1 minute they were there, the next minute they just appeared. It was simply just a jump cut. That was all that it was to make them appear. Like, that's such an easy technique that anyone could do. Like, filmmaker, whatever level you're at, this movie had so many of those kinds of tricks peppered throughout. Yeah.
And like, it just felt so achievable, but done to such a level that was just above anything else that I felt like was around it. So again, I'm not saying, it was it'd be so easy to recreate this. No. I'm saying when I watch it, it inspires me to try things in a way that is simple, but again, like so like carefully and meticulously executed. Yeah. And that kind of stuff, like, it's inspiring. Like, I think that's, as a filmmaker, that's what brought me to a level of like, this is why I make movies. Like, I do it to chase this kind of filmmaking.
Yeah. Yeah. Where it's going back to like the basics of like the magic tricks kind of aspect of filmmaking, but at the same time, it's like it's like magnifying it all at like this mega huge level. Yeah. And it's only a small team of people behind it.
That's what's so crazy too.
I don't know the exact numbers, so this is like a paraphrasing here, but the visual effects team behind the movie was like just a couple of people. Like and they were all self-taught from YouTube. Like, they learned every visual effects shot in the movie. There's 500 visual effects shots in the movie. All of them were done by people who learned how to do visual effects through YouTube. And like, isn't that amazing? Yeah. Like, isn't that incredible? Like, this like massive achievement in filmmaking was done by these people who were self-taught. They're not a big VFX house. It's like these people who like got together and did it for fun with their friends because that's what they enjoyed doing, and that's what every filmmaker is. So like on that level, it's like so inspiring, and you like connect with the filmmakers. You're like, I just felt so happy for them as filmmakers. Like, no jealousy, no like, oh, it should have been me. No, like, it's just like, good for you. Like,
you did it.
You made an awesome movie like on your terms with your friends for fun. Like it's just inspiring to see.
Well, I feel like one of those kind of next milestones. We've been filmmakers for a long time and been following other filmmakers' journey, and there have been like these flagpole moments. I feel like that we've been witness to, and I kind of watch people like Corridor Crew or the Rocket Jump guys. Like when I think about like when Freddie Wong from Rocket Jump, when they got to make Video Game High School season 1, that was a big deal. And to watch it go to season 3 where it was this massive, it was television. Like it was television that was on YouTube for free. Yeah, but you could watch it on YouTube for free.
Yeah.
So to watch, it felt like this was the next step in that bigger progression of watching these voices who started out in the same place that we're at, get to this big level, and getting to watch people do that and be in the YouTube space, like as people who make stuff, and like to watch someone else who was there get to this level of filmmaking that's like being praised is so cool to see, and to watch it be so successful.
Yeah.
Like you can't not just be so excited for them.
Yeah.
And again, like it's just inspiring.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Good stuff.
And I mean, on top of that, great performances.
Yeah, it's not even good. We're not even talking about the actors yet here. We're talking about the VFX people.
Great, like, message.
Yeah.
Like, I think everybody who's walked out of the movie has been like, I want to be a kinder individual. I want to be a good person. So on top of pushing boundaries of filmmaking, on top of not neglecting the technical side of filmmaking, what cinema is, also having a compelling narrative, it's got a good message of just be kind to people.
Yeah.
And it makes people feel those things when they walk out and they're like, I want to be a better person. So it's like, it's got it all. It's got everything.
My girlfriend and I, when we were watching it, we were just just watching and just kind of lightly sobbing as we're watching the movie. Oh my gosh, it was so funny. She told me specifically to say it on the podcast too, actually. She was like,
you were crying?
No, that she was crying. She was like, walking out, she's like, you can mention on the podcast that I cried when I watched this movie.
Yeah.
I was like, okay,
It's a good one.
I will.
And it's like, and again, those emotional moments, the rules of I guess, filmmaking, screenwriting, the rules of like this cynical nature of film discourse and discussion would tell you that all those emotional beats are cheesy, overdone, sentimental, didn't need it. But it works in this movie.
Yeah. No, the tying things in a movie emotionally over narratively.
Yes.
Always, I feel, pays off better.
Yes.
So.
Go with the feeling over the narrative or the logic, because, I mean, again, light spoilers, but there's a scene where Ki-Hugh Kwan, the short round from, we have, again, halfway through I realized it was that kid.
It's Gizmo from the Goonies.
Because I saw the Goonies commentary with video of them. It was like a 30th anniversary of it, and I recognized it from that years ago. But there's a sequence where he just tells everybody to just be nice to each other, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Because the whole movie isn't, again, logically, narratively, it's not super tight, but it doesn't need to be, because everything's strung together through emotional logic and visual tonal rhythms rather than the screenplay, theater structure about people being upset, people being angry, people being hurting each other. And then there's this plea, there's this call to the audience and the characters within it, like, we need to be kind to each other, and we need to change, and we need to be nicer. And because we've been taken through that emotionally, it doesn't matter that, you know, cynical film Twitter people would be like, oh, that's cliche, that's overly sentimental, that's cheesy, don't do that. Like, it works because, again, there's not very many movies made like this, designed in this way, and that's what makes it so great. It's got everything all in this one little package.
Everything everywhere, all at once.
Exactly. Gosh, yeah.
My favorite part was when I shared a picture on my Instagram story at the theater. And I just had the ticket marquee, like it was all lit up, super cool. Just took a picture of it, posted like, oh, I went to go see Everything Everywhere All at Once. Someone replied with like a laughing emoji. I was like, that's so funny. I was like, oh no, you thought I was saying I was seeing every movie as a joke. No, I went to go see Everything Everywhere All at Once. You should go see it, by the way.
That's funny. That's great.
But such a worthwhile movie.
Yeah.
Please go see it.
If it weren't for the big slew of great movies or good-looking movies coming out, I'd definitely be seeing it every single week. But I need to save money just a little bit.
That's what sucks right now is theaters. It's not playing at a lot of theaters, and at At least it's playing at Century now, which is
The
better.
Cinemarks are playing it.
I had Regal like passes, so I just went to a Regal. But it was like, it would have been $26 for me and my girlfriend to go. So I was like, glad this was free.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot. But it was good.
I mean, as soon as it comes out, I'm buying it. And if I have an open night at some point, I'm gonna go check it out again.
Yeah, agreed.
But yeah, great movie, super fun. Go check it out. You know, if you don't like it, it's okay.
Thanks for supporting the artists anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying everybody has to like this movie, but
we just really did.
We really liked it. And again, similar to last year, because last year Zack Snyder's Justice League came out at the beginning of the year,
in
and
April.
we were both like, I don't see how the movie's going to be topped this year, and it didn't. So Green Knight got close for us.
It was very close.
Very
they
close.
tried. They put in a good effort.
But Zack Snyder's Justice League still, came out early in the year, and it was still the top of our list by the end of the year.
Northman's coming out soon. Maybe it'll try.
Yeah,
it'll be the same thing again.
This year, Everything Everywhere All at Once, that was the highlight. And that's going to be the movie to beat for us. Mm-hmm. So, we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, anyways.
That seems like a good little spot to end it on.
What
there's what you're working on. Oh my gosh.
What are you working on?
I forgot there's a whole other segment to this podcast. Look at you.
Yeah.
Thanks for reminding me.
Well, it's some big stuff has kind of been happening.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that?
Well, let's talk about your stuff first, because I think that's a milestone, I'd say, in the editing process.
Yeah. I showed some people a cut of the first half of The Bell Rings.
Yeah.
Let's just say it's the halfway through the movie is a good natural break that is pretty solidified at this point. So showed it to firstly Caleb and Nathan from RC Films. They came down and visited us a couple weeks back, and so we were hanging out. And so naturally, I was like, "Hey, you guys want to watch some Bell Rings?" Because no one else had seen it up to that point besides Jordan. Yeah. So we watched that, and it was good. They had some great notes that I was wanting to hear from them anyway, so that was perfect. And they, but they seemed to enjoy it, which felt nice, because it's just been me seeing the movie, so I've been like, it's nice to sit with other people, because it's always that terrifying feeling when you're watching a movie and with other people, because your perception changes when you're watching a movie with people that you've made. So it's very scary, very nerve-wracking. But there weren't any points where I was like, oh my gosh, what have I done? Which felt good.
Well, it's also, you showed it to Bellamy.
And that's where I was going next. So our lead actress, like the week after, she was doing some stuff with you. And so we had made time, and I was like, hey, let's also watch the same chunk of The Bell Rings. So she got to watch it, and she seemed pretty happy with it. She wasn't like, oh my gosh, take my name out of this movie. So that felt good too.
It's always a good sign when the actress doesn't want to disown the movie.
Yeah. So it was a big thing. Yeah. And we're talking about, we're discussing when release dates and stuff, and we have an idea of when.
Yeah.
So we'll keep that to ourselves though. But
yeah,
for all you people asking, when's The Bell Rings coming out? Sooner than you think.
That's a perfect answer. Then on my side, there's been a few things. One is that started production on our new feature film.
Yeah.
That's shot for one day, and it's going good so far.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
Yeah, Ethan's seen some. Ethan was not there because it was kind of a semi-costume test, well, we're here, we might as well just shoot this because it's really easy to do it right now. But
yeah. It's going to be cool.
Yeah. It's going to be wild. It's called La Danza, so the dance in Spanish, if anyone speaks the Spanish language. And it's it's expansion, I guess, sort of the short film we did called End of Consciousness. And so shooting has begun. We're officially in production.
Yeah.
And that's a project where I would say don't hold your breath on waiting for that one to come out. That's one where I'm really taking my time with that one, and allowing the process to, I guess, take as long as it needs to. So I have, a goal of when shooting will be done and all that, and when the movie will be done. But if it goes beyond that because of either, circumstances beyond my control or just I want more time to make this movie as good as it can, I'm going to let it do that. Because for the last few years, it's been make a movie as fast as you can, make something you can shoot in a month or 2 weeks, and just do that. And that's been fun. But I want to take my time with this one, and I'm at the beginning of a mountain here, pretty much. So that's fun.
Yeah.
So when you're coming down your mountain,
you're going up.
Going up. So it's going to be fun.
I'm excited to start working on this one. I mean, I know it's going to be different, and there's some parts that I know I won't be a part of just because of, again, logistics.
Yeah.
But, man, this movie's going to be cool.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. But so stay tuned for lots of La Danza updates. The other little things I guess I should put out there is, first thing is kind of smaller. So we did a movie called Crescendo with RC Boys.
Yeah.
I recorded the song.
Yeah, you did. It sounds awesome.
I recorded it. I guess this is where the viewer interaction comes out. I've been debating whether or not to put it on Spotify or just put it on YouTube or maybe like do a video on it and have the song included into it. Like I just don't know how to release it. So
interesting.
I guess I'm asking the audience here, if you're still listening, thank you. But also, how should I release this? Should I do it on YouTube? Should I do it on Spotify? Should I do videos about it? What do you want me to do? Because I'm just trying to decide. But the song is done. It's ready to be, released.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how do I release it. So that's something I'm trying to think about. And then the other thing is, this is like a deep cut for, Ethan, not for Ethan. Well, yes, for Ethan, but for the audience. So when we started, before the pandemic hit,
oh man,
we were going to work on this movie called Simon Follows.
Our first feature since Great American Sleepover is what it was going to be.
Our filmmaking trajectory was in a very different place, but because, we're doing the festival route, we were very film school, kind of mind-oriented. We were at a very different place than we are now. And that's a project I've had in my head since 2014, 13, maybe 2012 even.
It's been a long time.
A long time. I have started work on a new version of the script. It's probably draft 20 or something.
Yeah, for real.
But this is going to be the idea is that's going to be
it.
That's going to be it. Once that draft is done, we'll start shooting that and working on that. But
crazy. And
that's another one where, because it's such a monumental project for us, I think it's I'm not sure if I don't know if we should do weekly vlogs for that one or something. Once we start getting things rolling, take you from beginning of the process to the very end, have a playlist going on where it's episode 1 is I'm writing the script. Here's blah blah blah, and I'm just talking about writing the script, and then a year or two later, how many years it takes to make the movie, the very last one is we premiered the movie, and this is
here it is.
Here's us at the premiere. But between that is every single step of the process, minus spoilers, obviously. But
it'd be pretty crazy.
I don't know. I'm not sure, but that's something. So doing some writing, but
just doing some writing. An idea you've had for a decade.
Yeah,
we've been talking about this one.
Oh
forever.
Gosh, almost a decade.
Once I saw it on your paper, I was like, oh man, here we go again. I've seen those words written on the schedule before.
Yeah.
How many times have we done this dance?
I know, long time.
But I'm always happy when Simon Follows comes up again in conversation. It's a sign good things are coming.
That'll be a good one.
Whether or not it's actually Simon Follows that's coming, that's always the question.
Yeah. That's the problem, is we have the opposite problem of writer's block.
We have too many.
Too many ideas.
I was thinking, well, maybe this is a better discussion off recording, but even during this, I was thinking about a movie that I've been kind of kicking the ideas around for a bit, and something we talked about during this, I was like, ooh, what if I did this? And now that's all I'm thinking about right now.
Yes.
So, but anyways.
Well, I think that seems like a good place to end it.
I think so.
Thank you for watching and listening, everyone. If you're following us on Spotify or listening on Spotify, head on over to our YouTube channel to check out some of our feature films and other short films and other videos. If you like this episode and like the podcast, please leave a comment down below. like, share, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Any kind of engagement we get really helps out our channel. So if you're a fan of us, that would really appreciate it. And only takes a little bit of your time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So until the next episode, hope you have a good week, and we'll see you later.